For the warm-up. We have 1 minute to go, but waiting also for the online audience. Good afternoon, a very warm welcome to Chatham House. I'm Bronwyn Maddox, the director. And a very warm welcome to those of you online as well. Very, very glad to welcome you to Chatham House. Prime Minister Edi Rama, former mayor of Tirana, arriving as Albania is very much in discussion. And there's all kinds of things we might talk about. We've put as the sub-headline of this discussion, when it was first raised, from migration to Russia and China, how Albania is responding to the geopolitical challenges of today. Well, that's going to take us around many, many subjects. But I wanted first to welcome you to Chatham House.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
And then to start with the UK, which is hard to avoid. You've just come from number 10. And you began today talking on the Today programme, indeed, about one of the ways in which Albania comes up in British conversation very much at the moment, and that is migration. And I wondered if you could take us into what you've been saying to Britain about this.
No, I said to what I said also in the program in the morning, what I said before, that this aspect of the relation is not good, and because of such disgraceful rhetoric, our relations went to their lowest point in my memory, and this is not something that honors Great Britain.
And the rhetoric is that there's lots and lots of illegal migration and many, many, particularly young men coming here. I wondered if you could take us into the facts, particularly though, because there has been a rise in the number, it appears, in the number of young men trying to get to the UK. And I would like you just to explain to people what might have been driving that and what your way is of seeing that.
We have seen it also previously. There was a rise in the numbers suddenly, like big boom during the big refugee crisis in 2015, and a lot of people took the way to go to Germany. Then some years later, it has been a rise in the direction of France, and this was a third rise in my count that happened through the channel. So it's a combination of factors, and of course, the base and what connects all these rises has to do with spread of the voice and of the narrative that a new frontier is opened with opportunities, with jobs, with possibilities to engage in different sectors and so on. And when it comes to Britain, this is also connected with a very family-based and very, let's say, area-based ties. Typically, these are Albanians that come from the northeast of the country, where the ties are and the bonds among families, among neighbors, are strong. On the other hand, there is a lot of confusion and there is also a lot of speculation about the data, because it's not simply not true that all these people come from Albania. This is theoretically impossible, arithmetically impossible, and factually not true. They are Albanians that come also from other countries, mainly Greece.
You mean they've been living in Greece for some time, and now they're moving to the UK?
Because of the fact that this region, in communist time, when nobody could move, and when everyone, even within Albania, nobody could move, counted a little bit more than 50,000. So counting now all the movements from this region to inside the country, a lot of them moved towards the capital, towards the bigger cities, counting how much they moved from the country outside, and then adding 12,000 in a year is simply impossible. So it's a combination of factors.
So this figure of 12,000 in 2022 through small boats, you're saying this figure is not right, coming from Albania?
Yeah.
Coming directly from Albania. Yeah. And this amazing figure hang over it all from Eurostat, that this was 1% of Albania's working age men heading this way.
What does it mean? I don't understand.
Yeah.
These are speculations of all sorts. The thing is that there is a clear understanding that Britain is in trouble, and in Britain there are a lot of opportunities, there are a lot of demands for workforce, and there are new avenues for hopes and dreams of these people. And this is simple and clear, and all this then is,
And one of the points we were discussing before was construction.
And also, you have to understand that these rises were at that time connected with the same, let's say, fundamental push, which is the opportunity to have access in the political asylum system. When Germany changed this basis by declaring Albania safe origin country, meaning to get political asylum, it's not something that it's normal, it's completely something out of the norm, then the move went towards France. And now, with the safe origin change in Britain, this is changing just in its basis.
One of the interesting things we were discussing just before this conversation was people some people coming from Albania here because of construction, and there aren't construction workers as many since Brexit, but also that the government here has changed the rules to allow legal migration for things like construction. And it seems to me, is it part of the argument you have been making to Parliament and the Prime Minister?
No, it is not for me.
Legal
it is not
migration?
for me to make, but I simply don't understand at all this policy of closed borders, of fighting against people that come and so on, because it's something that it's going against the economic basic needs, and I don't see how Brits and British youngsters will do the jobs that are done by others, Albanians included. But this is not for me to
No, but I'm wondering whether you're expecting now more legal migration because routes are opening for that.
This is something that is up to the British government. What I see and what we live with in Albania and in the region is that it's a very, very, very ruthless competition among even very developed countries, Germany first and foremost, to suck our our human capital, because everywhere the need for more workforce is more and more alarming, while the demographics go down and while the industries need workforce. And so we are facing something that is going to be more and more dramatic in terms of human capital. This is very clear.
I was going to ask you about that, about the impact at home, because Albania has been going through remarkable economic growth transformation.
Yeah, remarkable, but not as remarkable as to make Tirana, London, or to make Kukës from there coming, I don't know, Berlin. So this will never be the case for, I don't know. So you can't stop young people that live in remote areas that with all the things they miss. They don't miss the iPhone, and then they don't miss the TikTok, and they don't miss Kim Kardashian, to go where Kim Kardashian makes success. So this is the attraction of places and of countries that offer something to the imagination that nobody can beat. So then it's another thing how many people realize it and how many people struggle and how many people come back, because what we are facing is also an increase of the coming back. It's still very negative between going and coming, but the coming back in 2022 was 25%. So 25% of the number is people that come back. It's good because people that come back after having emigrated, they come with another mindset. They come with another experience. Even them that go to Germany and they come after 6 months, they have a different mindset because they make their mind that, okay, it's not the paradise I was imagining because, of course, my salary is much higher, but then my rent is much higher, but then my transportation is much higher, but then this is higher, this is higher, this is higher. And at the end, what remains is not so big. So when you are young and you don't have the argument, okay, I'm doing it for my kids, then it's more difficult. So
I'm interested in what argument you make at home as Prime Minister of, look, Albania has a bright future.
Albania has a bright future. Listen, I know that it's not politically correct for me to say what I say, but I never say to people, listen, you have to stay here, you have not to go, because here is your country. No. When I was young, I couldn't leave, and no one could leave. Now, what I fought for is a country that is open, it's free, and everyone can move, and you are Albanian, very good, but you are also citizen of the world, and you are, right to say, okay, I'm born here, but I want to live there. So this is the world we wanted. So now how to say to people, no, you stay here. Here it is where you have, no. There are people have the right, young people have the right to make their choices. Some choose to stay, some choose to leave, some choose to leave and come back. Some after staying go. So this is the challenge of how to tell people, no, the future is bright, so stay here with me. No. You want to leave, leave. You want to come, come. We have to make possible that every day is better. But we can't promise miracles. And in the same time, miracles, when it comes to developing a country that has been the North Korea of Europe until 30 years ago, need time and need strength and you need a lot of patience. It's about building state, about building institutions, So for the Brits, the dirty work has been made before, when the heads of kings were cut in parliament, when many guys from the court have been burned in fire, and so a lot of work, a lot of struggles, a lot of blood to build what is today Great Britain, let alone a lot of crimes in other countries, but this I'm not talking. So it's about, so it's about history. Our history has not been so generous to us, because we had to live under different empires. We have also this problem, we are loyal to empires generally, so we don't betray easily. Not easily, we don't betray at all. So we left the Ottoman Empire even when the Turks decided to leave. We left after them, so we were the last. Then we joined the Soviet Empire, and then because the Soviets betrayed Stalin, we wanted to stay with Stalin till the end because we were very loyal to Stalin. Then we left the Chinese because we wanted to stay with Mao. So we got all the crazy things on our shoulders because of our loyalty to empires. And now we'll be the last to leave the European Anglo-American empire. Even when this will evaporate, we'll be there saying, Great Britain, so.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask you about that, and indeed your hopes of joining the European Union. I'm not going to. Yeah. I'm not going to describe the European Union as an empire.
And if Russians will occupy Britain, you come to us, we'll protect you from Putin and from Suella Braverman, both.
You heard it here first.
This is sure. You'll see, we'll protect you.
Yeah. Many-sided defence. I do want to ask you, though, about your hopes of joining the European Union and where you think those are.
Huh? Joining the European, when I think we can join the European Union. You are asking me to look the crystal ball.
No, just the future. I mean, not
to predict the future. That it's impossible because even the European Union doesn't know about it. Nobody knows, and we don't know. But listen, the simple part of it and the toughest for us is we have to do our homework. This is the simple. It's a Chatham House with all the people filming here because I have to understand.
Chatham House is filming here, so this is live, yes.
So it's Chatham House, but it's open to the public.
It's
okay,
open.
good.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is now public.
Yes.
You had to tell me before. So,
I did tell you before. We explained the Chatham House rule does not apply to these events.
It's a strange Chatham House. What's happening with Britain, Sir Stuart, you know? You are changing everything for not for the good,
Actually, this is absolutely constant about Chatham House, that these events are public and welcoming people.
Why is it called Chatham House then?
Why it's called Chatham House is because the building is called Chatham House.
It's the name of the building. It's like my hotel, Scotland Yard, but was not Scotland Yard. Was hospitality.
Well, we're not yet a hotel, though we are, in the main, offering a warm welcome. I still want to stick on this point. It's not predicting the future, but it is a real point about the homework needed to get to the European Union.
So we have to make the homework, not because we want to please Berlin or Paris or Brussels, but because this homework is fundamental to make Albania a modern and functioning democracy with institutions that work for the people, that work for the national interests, that work for Albania in the international stage. And this means to have the separation of powers in deeds, not only in words, and to have a totally independent but also professional justice system, and to have all the rest that is well defined and corresponds to 4,000 and some hundred of laws and bylaws that we have to adopt. And this will make Albania a modern, functioning democracy. Now, will it make Albania a member state? I don't know. Who knows what the European Union will do in the future? We have seen a European Union that has been absolutely hypocritical with us because we have done our homework, but it was not enough because they had their own problems. And the European Union is, I don't want to sound like a Brexiter because I'm not, but the European Union is a federation of egos that sometimes do not do not correspond with each other. There are 27 national elections, 27 local elections, 27 European elections, 27, I don't know, and they are not in the same day. So, and we learned to read the European Union. How? By looking at the elections. So it doesn't matter we did the homework. It doesn't matter the European Commission, which is in place exactly to assess technically and not politically, objectively and not subjectively, how much this state has done its job. To say, yes, they have done their job, so they deserve to open accession talks, because in the way, there are elections in Netherlands. So when there are elections in Netherlands, they were, now Netherlands loves us, but at that time, then we had to deal with the same rhetoric we are dealing nowadays in Britain, for other reasons, Albanians. And there were titles like, another Albanian gang has been dismantled, and then when you read the article, it's about Dutch, Belgium, Moroccans, and a couple of old Albanians guarding this greenhouse, no? But the whole gang was Albanian in the title, because it was important to build a narrative of an enemy at the gates and to tell the voters, protect your country from this. And this has made these people with the boats being transformed in narrative, like Ragnar Lothbrok with his Vikings coming through the French Channel to re-invade East Anglia, how it's called, East Anglia. It's not this. So finally, we got to the point when all the member states agreed, and we opened our accession talks. The war in Ukraine has brought to senses the European Union in terms of the geopolitics, because they were saying,
in what way?
They were saying geopolitics, but in concrete terms, they never made a geopolitical decision in time when it came to us, because of what I said. Now it's different. They are more awake, and they understand that they cannot let the Balkans out of the total design. But how long this will take, how things will change, this we don't know. What we pray is the European Union stays there until we fulfill the homework. Then they can dissolve, it's their problem. We want to be a state that is a functioning modern democracy for our next generations. And this is something we can do by putting all our efforts and by having the European Union on our side. Because without the European Union, you can't do this, because you can't invent this. It's a know-how that has been built in many years. These are tools that you cannot invent. And all the lack of tradition that I mentioned before, which is not just us, it's also the whole Balkans, can be replaced only by this know-how. And this is why European Union is so precious.
I want to ask you about Ukraine. Albania is a member of NATO. How far do you think NATO and the European Union should go in supporting Ukraine?
Listen, the great thing of being a prime minister of Albania in NATO is that you don't have to take the heavy decisions. It's up for the big guys. And so far, my understanding is that there is no other way, there is no other choice. We have been swallowed in a situation that we didn't choose and that the Ukrainians didn't provoke, let's say. So this is an aggression. This is a war, a real war, a hot war, not a cold war in the gates of Europe. So we have to do what we have to do. Now, how long and how much the big guys will be able to carry on and will be willing to push, this is a prediction I cannot make. But what I know And what I can say is that if the big guys will not push till the end to win this war, then the world will be totally different.
All right, thank you. That is a very clear answer. Beginning to
All my answers are clear, by the way.
Yeah, but not all answers that we get on this stage about Ukraine are clear. So thank you for that.
Before me.
Before you, and
Because
I have to say you are
I'm
not the
not as
first to sit on
important
this
as
stage.
the others that come here. So when they are very important, they don't have to give
You don't have to give clear
answers.
answers.
Because more important you are, more you confuse people, you know. This is how it goes.
I wouldn't say there's exactly an inverse correlation between importance and opacity, but
I'm not talking
I'll
about
think
Winston
about it.
Churchill. I'm talking about nowadays politicians.
Yeah. All right, we're beginning to get good questions in.
Sure.
But I want to just, before we go to general questions, and please get them ready. Thank you for the ones you're sending online. To ask you about the Western Balkans. It's something that comes up quite a bit in Chatham House. We'd like it to come up more, of how concerned you think Europeans should be about what is going on in the Western Balkans, and indeed what other European countries might do about it.
No, the problem is that we are concerned about the European Union more than they are concerned about us, and rightly so, because I think they really need to be taken care in the sense that European Union need to be taken care of very much, because it's a very defining moment in the history of the democratic family, and the European Union needs to be strong enough and to be clear enough and to be resilient and all this. So then, you know, it's important, it's good that the Balkans also are taken care, but the Balkans are used to survive. Okay, so we are not spoiled to the point that we can lose it. We survive. Understand?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Let's go to questions now. Could we have the lights up? Because I could see a lot of hands beginning to go up, and I want to leave enough time because there are many, many things. All right, I'm going to start here in the middle. In the green. Yep.
Thank you.
And could you say who you are, please?
Zana Chaka, Chatham House staff. So ecotourism is on the rise in Albania, and the Vjosa River has just been announced as Europe's first wild river national park. But that announcement came off the back of years-long campaigns from international and local organisations. And the threat of environmental damage still persists. Vlora Airport is under construction. Dors Harbour is being developed by an Abu Dhabi company. What steps are you taking to ensure that Albania's unique and rich biodiversity, which is so key to its ecotourist credentials, isn't sacrificed for short-term economic gain and harmful infrastructure development?
What's wrong with the Abu Dhabi investment?
It's, you know,
Say it. What?
well, no, but Balkan Insight has, you know, been trying to scrutinise it and saying that it's not necessarily the most transparent of deals.
No,
so,
but
so
where it matches the idea of transparency with the ecosystem. This is what I didn't get.
So I'm just framing it in this way so that, you know, this idea of infrastructure development, how do you sort of reconcile that with Albania's biodiversity and how you
Which
see...
biodiversity? In the port of Durrës, with all the chrome...
I'd rather talk about Vjosa River.
I just wanted to make sure that we have the same understanding of biodiversity in a place that is full of coal and chrome in the open air, and where no fish would dare to approach because he would die immediately. And we approach, and we are not yet dead, but we may be dead if we keep this dirtiness in the middle of a city. So this is just for that. First of all, it's the first national park on a wild river, because it is the last wild river. There's no other one. Europe was full of wild rivers, but all the guys that pushed us to keep it wild, they have tamed their wild rivers. So all the tigers of water in Europe became cats for the house and for well-being of the developed countries. and they wanted our wild river to remain a tiger, which is a good thing. Secondly, you speak about protests, but you have to consult our program when we got elected. We already indicated that we wanted to put Vjosa under protection. And Vjosa was already protected, was protected not as a national park, but as a protected area, which is a lower category of protection. So we were very aware of it, and our government has increased the amount of protected areas in important percentage, and our goal is that until 2030 we have 30% of our country protected. So I'm not saying that them who protested did the wrong thing. They did a very good thing. It was very noble, but it was not because of them that we declared Vjosa National Park. The delay had to do with a lot of studies and with a lot of assessments, because it's one thing to say something, like I usually did when I was in your position, just advocating for a better life. It's another thing when you have to do something, like I'm supposed to do here that I'm governed. So it's a bit the difference between poetry and prose, if you understand. So we had to make a very, very thorough assessment, because it's a national park that crosses the country and has inside a huge amount of people living, and there's inside even cities that are part of this national park as you know, ties of life. So we had to be very clear that this national park first become reality, second does not become an impediment for the economy. So to have a certain idea of how we transform this also in an economy without damaging nature. And the last point, which is not unimportant, is that we have inherited in this area concessions and agreements and a lot of contracts. And it's easy to say from afar that this looks so beautiful, make it a park and don't spoil it, you dirty politicians, because we need, our new generation need a new world, clean and green. But then this can cost to the country to the point that can bring the country to the knees. So we had to do all these things, and yes, we have finally decided, and now Vjosa is the last wild river of Europe and the first national park in a wild river. So it's a big achievement, and now the challenge is to give to it sustainability and to make it irreversible. And it's again easier said than done, but that's why we have divided labor. You say, I do.
Thank you for that. Here.
No, don't stand. It's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. Prime Minister, first of all, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. I'm sure you'd rather be resting in your hotel, the Scotland Yard.
You don't
Please,
know me.
would you like to say your name, please?
Me resting in this time of the day.
Yeah. My name is Emanuel Vida. I was born and raised in Albania. I then moved here, studied. I now work in banking and finance, and I'm proud to say I'm an Albanian British. During my time here, I've seen how the perception of Albanians has actually changed, first-hand experience, sadly sometimes for the worst. I think it doesn't help that we've had movies made about, Taken and Gangs of London, and from the moment they made the first James Bond villain Albanian, I think people joked about it. But I think we clearly have a perception problem. So when I look around the room...
Excuse me, do you have a question?
Yeah, I see a lot of professional Albanians around the room, and I think we as a community have the power to help with this perception. In your view as Prime Minister, what can we be doing as a community to help with the perception of Albanians in the UK?
Listen, do you think Suella Braverman didn't know that she was saying something wrong? Because politicians say things that then they regret. It has happened to me, it happens to everyone, especially if you are passionate about what you do and if you are involved in a fight. Sometimes, words escape. But then there is the day after, there is a week after, and then you find a way to say, okay, I'm sorry. She never said she's sorry, because she's not sorry. So you can do nothing.
The question is about changing the perception of Albanians in the UK, you're saying...
You can do nothing in that direction.
Tell Suella Braverman to apologize.
You can do nothing in that direction, but what you should do is to continue to do what you are doing. Because the truth of the Albanian community, because the talents in the Albanian community, because the contribution of the Albanian community will outlive Suella Braverman and many Suellas in the way. So just keep going, just do whatever you do, be proud of being from where you are, be proud of belonging to this society, honor the British flag, honor the Albanian flag, and you are doing the best you can. Then politicians that use their visibility and use their power given by others to represent them to make votes or to look for votes by doing these kind of things will always exist, as far as democracy will exist. And as the great Winston said, is a very bad system, but it's the best we have. So just keep going and fight back whenever you can, but don't really obsess yourself with that. Just feel sorry for these kind of politicians and feel sorry for Britain, and you are good.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Right, over here, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister. Michael Selman from Calatrava Grace. Very nice to see you. Could you talk a bit about the what I think is a very important open Balkans progress, its plans, an important initiative in the region?
It's part of a whole process of initiatives and of steps, and it's part of a whole transformation that the Balkans are living. And nowadays, we must absolutely never forget that we are in the best place we have ever been. So with all the problems, with all the Albanians are in the best place they ever been. In Albania, in Kosovo, in Montenegro, in North Macedonia, they've never been better. The relations in the Balkans have never been better. Never, ever. We have an elephant in the room in every meeting we have with Serbs, which is the big disagreement on Kosovo, but still, there are barricades, there are some angry people, there are some, inflammatory statements, but at the end, they go back to the table and they progress. So everything is going in the right direction. The only problem that we have to not underestimate is the Russian influence on the Serbian world and on the, let's say, Slavic Orthodox part. And for this, we need to keep Serbia on our side, and we need to strengthen the relation with Serbia, and we need to make sure that the unity in the Balkans against the aggression in Ukraine does not break. Because this can bring us back very fast in tragic times. This is my understanding of that.
Thank you. And I'm coming over here, but I just want to weave in a question online from Ian Kingston, who's a Chatham House member. So because we're on the topic of Serbia and Kosovo, is there any initiative that you would welcome from the EU or US different from what they're doing already?
No, I think this is the best. Yeah. The document on the table is the best both sides can get in terms of their capacity to agree. Apparently, both sides are still very near to the war, and the smell of blood is still strong to the point that they cannot make the last, let's say, step. But this is the right way and is a de facto recognition of the right of Kosovo to live in its own, to be in its own, and to decide in its own, and is a de facto recognition of Serbia as a neighbor with whom Kosovo has to deal with and to have normal relations. So it's fantastic. And the only point is, will it be implemented? Because Balkan is a place full of tricks. But let's see, I don't know.
Thank you for that. Right here on the aisle. I'll come around, there's a whole group here, but on the aisle first.
Thank you. Gergana Christopher from the Metro newspaper. Bringing your attention back to the relationship between the Albanian and the British government, how do you see this relationship progress in the future, in the near future, if politicians like Suella Braverman don't apologize and don't take accountability for such inflammatory language, like describing Albanians coming over here as an invasion?
Listen, again, I want to repeat that we are sorry. We're very sorry. That's it. We are not going to connect the strategic partnership that we have with a country like Britain, and we are not gonna put all this huge, big interest to develop this relation in the tiny box of the world of Suella Braverman and some other people. This is much bigger than that, and I might tell you that we are having a very good communication and collaboration. And this is not to say niceties, because I don't think life is interesting if you leave to say niceties that you don't think are true. No, this is true, and we have made a very important step. And I'm telling you, for the first time, I'm seeing not just words, but also deeds from a British Prime Minister. And I've seen a lot of British Prime Ministers, by the way. So in this case, there is something very important that is happening, which we asked since a long time. I remember since Theresa May was Home Affairs, right? Secretary. Mm-hmm. She was Home Affairs, right?
Yes.
Yes. So we always said, we need to build a joint operation force to crack down the criminal networks. They always said it's great, but never happened. This is happening. So after my conversation with the Prime Minister in the phone, this is happening. And I'm sure that if it will be done as is planned, very soon the results will be stunning in terms of what is the problem. My problem is not that Albanians are coming to Britain. My problem is when Albanians are being used in their dreams and hopes to reach Britain by criminals. I don't have the problem of the British borders being closed. This is, to me, this is wrong, but it's not up to me to decide. The problem is to not let young Albanians being exploited by criminals. Point number one. Point number two, to not let this fantastic community, and it's a fantastic community, the Albanian British community here. It's fantastic. From the professionals to the constructors. Be under the pressure of some rotten apples that are around. But this being said, Albanian criminals did not bring crime here. They found crime here. They did not bring drugs here. They found the market here. That's why they came here. It's a big market of crime, of drugs, of all bad things. This is the truth. So to connect this and to say we are erasing crime because we are fighting Albanian criminals, this is just propaganda, but it's not. And we are very interested to crack them now, and we are going to do it. And if the British counterparts will help us, will listen and will follow what we are telling. When it comes to the Albanians, we are not teaching them what to do with the others. This will be very successful, and we will be in a much better place, and you will be, the Albanians here will be in a much better place. And this is what we want to do. But singling out the Albanians, talking about, so Dua Lipa is a British singer, and the guy in the boat is an Albanian offender. No, Dua Lipa is an Albanian immigrant that is singing as a British Albanian. Same for the guy. It's the same. So it cannot be like that. Everything good we bring here is British. Everything bad, it's Albanian. No. No, no, no. It's not like that. It's not like that.
Thank you. More and more hands going up. Okay, in the middle are the two people there.
Hi, I'm Camilla Bell from Bern.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear your name.
Sorry, Camilla Bell from Bern, Balkan Investigative Reporting Network. It's interesting you were concerned about this event being aired in public. Several outlets in Albania have told my news organization that press freedoms are declining in Albania. Journalists are banned from asking tough questions at press conferences, and big TV outlets have been fined heavily. And when Bern asked for detailed reasons, the government response that the question was too technical. Isn't press freedom essential for a functioning democracy? Could you comment on that, please?
So there is a stereotype. If you are a journalist, you can say all bullshit you want, it's freedom. If you're a politician, you can say everything you want, you are suspicious. Now, I don't accept from anyone moral superiority when it comes to any subject. I don't see any moral superiority acceptable. I have my answer, you have your questions, you have your opinion, I have my opinion. But to say that freedom of media is to say everything it comes to your mind, and every allegation that you, and then to say this is just bullshit, is lack of understanding of the freedom. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. Okay, so now you say something which is a lie. Media outlets are fined in Albania. Give me an example. Media owners that are also owners of companies that make tax evasion and that are sent to the prosecutor for clear evidence on tax evasion, or media owners that do not pay for years rents to public facilities that they have rented and that are in courts with the government, to me, are two different things. It's too easy to say you want me to pay the rent because I am critic. You want me to pay the taxes because I am critic. You want me to pay social insurance to the employees because I am critic. But the facts are different, totally different. You have to pay social insurance, which you don't. You have to pay taxes, which you don't. You have to pay rent, which you don't. You have to build legally, which you don't. So, sorry, for all these things, you have to respond like every citizen. You don't have an immunity in the name of freedom that you can do everything else behind your screen, while what you do in the screen is your job. It's not, we never, ever had fined a media, although we should. Why? Because there is a big problem with the payment, the wages of journalists. Go and look to the wages of journalists and be a bit more preoccupied about them because they are being underpaid and they are paying a lot. They are being paid a lot in cash, and so on and so further. So there is a big problem about this mix between freedom of media and freedom to not abide by the law in the name of being owner of a media. This is not going to pass. You can say whatever you want. This is not going to pass. It has been tolerated for a long time, and it has been wrong, and it will not happen. And you can say whatever you want. As far as there is no journalist in Albania that is, and this thing that journalists are not allowed to make tough questions is, again, completely not true. Totally not true. Journalists can make whatever question they want. They can be however they want. It's not this. It's very clear. So, and the last I have to say is, I risked my life for the freedom of speech. Okay, so I've still scarves in my head. So moral superiority and lecture from anyone that has a pen and says to himself he's a journalist, I don't accept. Then we have different views, we have different rules, but the idea that you are a prime minister, you should not have your view, and the journalists can have every view, and you should not say what you think, this is not something I buy. Maybe I'm wrong, for sure I'm wrong, for sure you are right, but this is how it is. So you write whatever you want, you have the pen, you write. But when you talk to me and when I talk to you, don't pretend that I buy all the bullshit you want to say. I can't. It's simple.
In the middle, and I'm coming over here.
Robert Morland, I'm a former member of the European Parliament, and I've been to both Albania and Kosovo a number of times. I very much support what you said in relation to Kosovo, but I wonder if I could follow it up by asking you if you feel in some ways Albania has a particular role to help Kosovo. It's regarded, of course, as the friendly neighbour. Is there more you can do?
Kosovo is Kosovo. First of all, it's not Kosovo, it's Kosova. Kosovo is the Serbian way to call it. So you advocate for Kosovo independence, please, and I'm asking you humbly, it's not your fault. Propaganda has done its job, and sometimes I say Kosovo too, but it's Kosovo. No, don't be sorry. I do it also this sometimes, but it's Kosovo. So Kosovo is not a friendly country. It's a sister country. It's a brother country. It's a whatever. It's not a friendly country. So we are same. And for some reasons, we are one nation living in two states. So we Albanians have two states, 4 prime ministers in the Balkans. Something should not be right, but it is like it is. And we do everything to help. For sure, we do everything to help. And for sure, we will welcome everything they can do for us to help. So we are same. We are same. Just, we have a border, we have some rules to respect, but we are same. Okay. I don't know exactly what you have in mind when you ask, but by now.
Don't need to apologize.
No, learn it with me. Kosova. Not vo, va.
Okay.
Like
okay.
su, la.
But I could throw the point that, of course, when I go there, I do get quite a lot of people who do think, they are very close to you. They may even should be eventually part of you. Do you dismiss that? For
this
the time?
is another
It's
thing.
Unrealistic.
This is another thing. Part of us, in the sense of unification, this is another story, and this is not something that is for today. In the future, everything will be evaluated based on the full integration among all of us in the Balkans, first of all, and of Europe. So this is, if Scotland want to leave you, imagine us unifying with each other. So we need to see how things will unfold in the future. For the moment, it's a different state, it's an independent state, it's a multi-ethnic state, has to give full guarantees to both not only the Albanians but also the Serbs and so on and so further. So I'm not going to enter there. But for sure, you know, the path is the right one to be fully integrated with the European Union, and then who knows? I don't know. I can't predict the future, but I think for the moment this is not, so talking about this topic is not to help them, but is to harm them. And whoever talks about it should be very careful.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Mr. Prime Minister. My name is Bassiana Bala. I'm the research lead at Public here in the UK. So actually, the previous question was a good liaison to what I'm about to ask. So I wanted to ask you about the powerful speech that you delivered to the Council of Europe back in October in relation to Kosovo. It reminded me of a period where speeches on Discord had a bigger impact than it have today. In terms of where Albania is being used as a political scapegoat, do you believe that it yielded the result you expected? And knowing what you know now about the repercussions, would you do it again?
Repercussions of what?
Political repercussions about the speech.
What's repercussions?
The way it was received by the international media.
I don't care. The truth is more important than what people may think about it in the moment you say it, because it was a very, very uncomfortable truth. It's a whole setup. And, you know, and some people, some authorities, some colleagues of mine, they don't want to see it. That has nothing to do with the court case. Has to do with a part of it, which is the original sin that brought to it, by the way, but this is true. It's a Russian setup, this is clear, and chapeau to the Russians that still their setup works, and all the European community, democratic community, is working on the base of a Russian setup. This is the truth, because otherwise someone has to tell me where are the organs that have been taken out of the bodies and have been trafficked in the West. Where? There is no evidence of any kind of such an activity. And this report is a disgrace for the Council of Europe. This report is a shame for the European community of countries that are part of the European Council. This is the Council of Europe, sorry. This is the truth. What repercussions? This is the truth. And I'm sure that the truth will come out. Will come out sooner, and I hope Zelensky will not end in jail one day. Because with that logic, and with, Slobodan Milošević was declared war criminal, okay? There was an arrest warrant, if I'm not wrong. And Hashim Thaçi was baptized George Washington of Kosovo, okay? So he was the Zelensky of Kosovo at that time. He's in jail. I wish Zelensky will not go to jail one day with that logic. For crimes, for war crimes. So accuse him for war crimes. Someone that has led a rebellion against an aggressor that aimed to ethnic cleansing, like he was the commander of an organized state. This is gross. But underneath is even more terrifying, that there is the allegation of human organ trafficking based on some stories in Albania, the yellow house here and there. No yellow house, no nothing. And the report that says people of the people in the village, they denied to have seen anything of that sort because they were under drugs or they were offered prostitutes. People in the village were offered sex to cover for human trafficking. These are, but unfortunately it flied. And I don't regret it. I would do it again and again and again. As you see, I'm doing it here in any occasion. It's a disgrace.
Right. I'm going to squeeze in one last question, and it's from someone online. We're coming right to the end. From an Albanian student at the University of Cambridge who's on a UK government-sponsored scholarship, Realdo Silaj, and he says, Mr. Prime Minister, this goes right back to your comments, which I'm sure will have stayed quite a lot of the people here, about why Albanians leave. He said, Mr. Prime Minister, I'm saddened to hear you downplay our own country for how attractive it can be for young Albanians to work and achieve success. It's hard enough that the reality is similar, but given that a government led by you has been in power for 10 years, was there nothing you could do to make it attractive? Or should we listen to you and be global citizens, leaving Albania barren? What should Albanians who choose to come back do?
First of all, I like to be quoted correctly. I didn't say that. I said everyone has the freedom to choose where to go, as the gentleman has exercised his freedom to study in Cambridge. Now, yes, we are nearing 10 years in government soon, and Albania today is a completely different country. But I never promised that in 10 years' time Albania will be Britain. I never promised that in 10 years' time Albania will be as attractive as Germany, because I would not have been running the country. I would have been somewhere in some mental. So making Albania attractive for the young people to see a future is already happening, but at the same time, making Albania attractive to the point that the young people say, no, 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 it's better here than ever, it will take time. Now, I'm not going to bother you or him or whomever with facts, but I'm telling him only this. In his age, he's right to say this, and he should say more, and he should even come and fight to overthrow me, the government, to take over, to do it better. So this is what he's in the age to do. When he comes to my age, he'll remember this, hopefully, and he'll say he was right. This is what I did when I was his age. But at least I helped to overthrow a regime. So now it's a completely different place. Of course there are problems, of course there are. We are not coming from, as I said, from a history that was generous to us. We have started to build a democratic state only 30 years ago, and without the tradition for Poles, for Czechs, for Hungarians, for Croatians even. You know, communism interfered in a brutal way with already a path of having state, having some institutions, having some religious networks, having some academia. For Albania, it was completely different. So, yeah, he's right, I'm right, we are both right. So the future will be better because kids like him will come, will take over, will do better, and so on, will develop. But to say, because, okay, if this is the fault of the Albanian government, of Albania, why Serbia? Why Croatia? Croatia, which is a completely different, is not preventing the young people leaving. Why so many Croatians are coming to Ireland? Why Croatia is not already London? Why Greece is not Britain? So it's a process, and we have to run, and we have to improve, and we have to be patient, and we have to be resilient, and we have to realize that change is happening. Of course, needing more is what young people should do. Of course, fighting for more is what young people should do. Of course, saying that they want a different way of doing things is what young people should do. But as far as I'm concerned, I think we are doing what has to be done. And so far, we haven't seen anyone doing it better. Someone may come, and then things will change. But they are changing already without change.
On that note, we're going to have to stop. It's been fascinating, Mr. Prime Minister. Thank you very much for answering so many questions so directly, including that last one about, which I invited you to answer earlier, about what young Albanians returning to Albania should do. So thank you everyone for your questions, this incredibly wide conversation we've had. Thank you very much indeed for your time.
Thank you. And first of all, I want to say I learned something. I didn't know that Chatham House was public. I learned today. It's good. And secondly, despite how much the questions were, well, the answers were fulfilling the curiosity or the reason to lose time here with me, I wish I was not boring. This is the only thing at the end that I...
You were not boring. I think we can assure you that.